Hello, I'm Ollie and this is Criminally, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, my review of All the Fiends of Hell by Adam Nevill. Adam Nevill is an author I'm coming to admire enormously. This is the third book I've read by him. The first one was Cunning Folk, which I really liked. The second one was The Ritual, which I also really liked. This is the third one. This is my favourite so far. I think he's a fantastic writer of really, really tense, interesting horror. The other reason I admire him, though, is not to do with his writing. It's to do with the way he publishes his books. So, having been someone who had a successful traditional publishing career, he's actually taken himself out of that and now publishes all his own work, and he does a fantastic job of it. This edition that he sent me of All the Fiends of Hell is absolutely beautifully produced. So I really applaud him for taking a different approach to publishing, and I really wish him every success with it. I think he's doing a fantastic job as well as being a fantastic writer. So let me talk to you about this book and tell you why I think it's quite as good as it is. So it's basically a science fiction story, and it's got a kind of vintage science fiction vibe to it. And in fact, in the afterword to it, Adam Nevill talks about the influence of War of the Worlds, and in particular the Jeff Wayne version of War of the Worlds on him as a kid. So you can definitely feel that in this book. It reminded me, the beginning of it in particular, reminded me a bit of Day of the Triffids by John Wyndham as well. So let me tell you about that beginning, because the beginning is fantastically well done. So the concept is that one night the skies kind of go red. There's this weird ringing sound. People afterwards refer to it as the Night of the Bells. And people just kind of go out of their houses to see what's going on and kind of float up into the sky. So a really creepy concept. What happens thereafter is that the world is, depopulated, basically. There's hardly anybody left. And the book focuses on a guy called Carl, who is one of the few remaining people on the planet. And the reason Carl is okay is because he had a terrible case of the flu when it was the Night of the Bells. He was kind of bedridden for a couple of weeks. So he comes out of it kind of in a bit of a haze after that and discovers that everyone else is gone. He meets a couple of kids, as well as an old woman who's a neighbour of his, and the book is really about his attempts to survive in this strange new world with the other people that he meets. So that gives you a sense of what the book is like. It's a kind of classic science fiction type story, an alien invasion type story, but with a definite horror edge. And it's that horror edge which I think is one of the two things that makes this book as good as it is. So Adam Nevill introduces gradually into it these weird creatures, and I won't talk too much about them, but there's a real kind of cosmic horror vibe to all of this, a kind of Lovecraftian type of a vibe to it. The creatures, the way he describes them, and the way the human characters kind of come to understand them is really, really creepy and really effectively done. The book is kind of mysterious, but also just really, really tense, partly as a result of those creatures, but also just because Adam Nevill's a fantastic writer. And there's a fight scene in this book which is one of the best fight scenes I've ever read. It's towards the end of the book, and it was just fantastically well done. I was completely gripped by it. So that, in kind of two halves, is part of why it's such a good book. The creatures are great, and there's just a really tense atmosphere to the whole thing, as there has been with all of the Adam Nevill books I've read. The other thing, and this is the thing that impressed me most about the book, I think, is the character of Carl. Carl is an amazingly well-written character. I really, really enjoyed reading him. So Nevill, again, in the afterword to this book, describes Carl as one of the last people that anyone would ever pick for their team. So the idea is he is a completely ordinary guy. In fact, he's kind of below average. He's a bit of a loser. He's not had a successful life. He's not had a successful career. He's somewhat downtrodden. He's separated from his wife. He's got no one in his life. And he finds himself thrown into this kind of desperate situation where normally, the central character of a book like this would be a heroic type of character, a soldier or a policeman or something like that. Carl is none of those things. He's just a completely ordinary person who realises he needs to, in order to survive, but also in order to help the people who he meets survive, he needs to, find that bit extra in himself. And watching his struggles and watching him gradually grow in times of like his confidence and his bravery was really gripping and really fascinating. And I think the thing that's great about Carl is he kind of doesn't even realise it himself. He doesn't realise that he becomes a hero as the book progresses. He just constantly is like doubting himself, but just instinctively, I guess, does the things he needs to do. So I really did think he was a fantastic character, and his growth as a character through the book is really, really well handled. I thought he's a character I've just have kept on thinking about. It's not often you get a character in a book like this, in a piece of genre fiction, who really feels completely fully formed and interesting to he is interesting to read, regardless of everything that's going on around him. He's just a really, really great central character for a book. So I found him completely believable, and I found the fact he is so believable makes the book even more tense, because he's a bit useless. He's trying to do the right thing, but he's quite capable of screwing it up. And that adds a real tension to the book that you wouldn't get if he was that, kind of more macho kind of central character. So yeah, a really, really excellent central character, and he really makes the book. So yes, those are my thoughts on All the Fiends of Hell. I really, really think you should read it. If you haven't read any Adam Nevill, you should definitely give him a try, and this is a great book to start with. Anyway, I will leave it there. If you've read All the Fiends of Hell, let me know what you thought of it in the comments. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Hope you're safe and well out there. Hope you're reading good stuff, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.